Now at noon, President Trump making final decisions on his latest round of tariffs, how trade partners say they'll respond. Plus, federal agents bust a marketplace in Gresham. When you hear what they were selling there, you'll understand why. And Oregon lawmakers are considering a bill to boost summer learning as the state sees concerning trends in reading scores. Then later.
It's got a little bit of curry in it, and it's got mango and lime juice. Thank you. It's really nice. Delicious.
Cultural cuisine served up in school cafeterias. How the Beaverton School District is expanding students' palates. KGW News at noon starts right now. Thanks for joining us here. I'm Drew Carney, and we start this afternoon in Washington, D.C., where President Trump is set to unveil his plan for new tariffs in about an hour. The White House says the United States will impose increased taxes on all countries that export goods to the U.S., but added that the president is still open to negotiations. NBC's Alice Barr has more for us from the nation's capital.
Hi there. The nation and the world are bracing for President Trump's reciprocal tariffs rollout today against all foreign trading partners, both adversaries and allies, who the president frequently says have been ripping America off with what he sees as widespread trade imbalances. Canada is among the nations awaiting a full list and promising to push back even harder, with the Premier of Ontario saying Canada will go tariff for tariff, dollar for dollar. The European Union president also saying the EU would prefer a more constructive solution over a trade war, but is ready to respond with a strong plan. The new tariffs are set to take effect immediately and add to a sweeping series already in place, including 25% tariffs on foreign cars in effect today, with the tariff starting to be collected tomorrow. The same for foreign auto parts set to follow. And we've already seen the reverberations of that throughout the auto industry, with concerns over just how much prices may be pushed up for both foreign-made cars and domestic ones with foreign parts. Even before we learn the details today of President Trump's new tariff plans, the White House press secretary left the door open to potential changes, saying President Trump is always up to take a phone call and negotiate, but is focused on fixing wrongs of the past and showing American workers have a fair shake. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
NBC will have a special report on President Trump's announcement starting at 1 o'clock. You can watch it here on TV or on our TV app, KGW Plus, available on Roku, Fire TV, and Apple TV. The Silvies River near Burns in Harney County remains under a flood warning this afternoon. The National Weather Service says river levels will start to decline tomorrow, but the impacts will likely continue into next week. The sheriff's office says drinking water is still safe, although flood water samples collected on Monday did test positive for E. coli. Harney County officials are urging anyone who comes in contact with floodwaters to wash their hands and continue practicing good hygiene. Oregon Governor Tina Kotek declared a state of emergency for that part of the state earlier this week. Right now, there are several emergency operations set up to help people in Harney County. Sandbags are available at the City of Hines Public Works. There's also an emergency shelter set up at the Memorial Building at the county fairgrounds, and anyone who needs a place to park their RVs can take them to the fairgrounds or to Hines City Park. All right, break from the headlines here as we turn it over to Chris McGinnis, filling in for Rod today in the Weather Center. What are you leading off with here, Chris?
As expected, showers beginning to pepper the area again through the late morning, now into the noon hour here, and really responding to the little bit of daylight, sunshine that we've had. So the showers becoming a little more prolific here over the last 1 to 2 hours here. We'll zoom in on one of the heavier cells passing now between Lake Oswego and Westland. That's working its way off to the east, so Gladstone, you're about to get wet. East side of Vancouver, Mill Plain out towards Camas, right along SR 500, you can see a pretty good cell there. And that will be the trend for the remainder of the day. Some sun breaks like what we see in Lincoln City, and some showers like what we were seeing over towards Camas and down in the Gladstone area. Right now the beach, Lincoln City's chilly at 47. We do have snow down to about 3,000 feet in the Cascades. The pass level roadways are good, even though the temperatures are right near freezing, but we are seeing some accumulating snow, of course, up on the ski slopes. And in downtown Portland right now, you can see some of the showers off in the distance and some breaks in the clouds. It's currently 50 degrees with some light rain being reported at PDX, and across the region 50 in Hillsborough, 50 on the dot in Salem. And the plan for the rest of the day keeps temperatures on the cool side. Again, about maybe 53, 54 for a high. several degrees below average for this time of the year, but we start a little bit of a warming trend tomorrow. And then, Drew, we have a fabulous, awesome Friday, Saturday forecast. I'll show you that coming up in just a few minutes.
I think people will stay tuned for that. Thank you, Chris. Let's jump back into our news headlines here now. Police arrested a man in Gresham after they say he fired a gun into the air last night around 9:30 near Northeast Burnside and Hogan Road and then took off. When officers found him, he had almost all of his clothes off and was shouting at them to kill him. They were able to take him into custody, though, without anyone getting hurt. The charges against him include disorderly conduct and recklessly endangering another person. The Multnomah County Medical Examiner's Office is asking for help to identify this woman you see here on your screen. She was found dead in a tent 3 weeks ago in Northeast Portland near I-84 and Northeast Halsey. They say she's between 30 and 40 years old, 5'3", about 170 pounds, with brown hair, green eyes, and multiple tattoos. If you know anything about her, you can call the Medical Examiner's Office. That number's up on the screen there, 503-988-0055. Federal agents made a huge bust at what they were calling the Portland Sunday Market. But agents say this marketplace in Gresham was not offering up produce or handmade goods. Instead, investigators say it was a marketplace for drugs. KGW's Alma McCarty has the details behind this year-long investigation.
At the end of a rural road in Gresham, federal agents say the so-called Portland Sunday Market would set up shop. Neighbors on the normally quiet gravel street tell us they weren't quite sure what was happening here, at least not the full extent of it. The Drug Task Force spent more than a year working to figure that out. Investigators likened the event to a farmer's market, though they determined the items for sale were illegal drugs, with vendors selling everything from weed and ketamine to psilocybin mushrooms, LSD, and cocaine. On Sunday, they seized the drugs and arrested the suspect, Kevin Olson, believed to be operating the market. While investigators executed warrants in Gresham, they also searched the suspect's home out here in Boring, where they found, they say, lots of guns and ammo. Federal agents and state police forced their way into a gun safe, finding pistols, revolvers, and rifles, plus even more firearms hidden around the home. According to court documents, both locations had active illegal marijuana growing operations, the larger of the two back in Gresham, with a total of 973 plants. Alma McCarty, KGW News.
One note to Alma's report there. Agents say the suspect is a convicted felon who was arrested on 2 federal charges. He's now behind bars at the Multnomah County Jail. Meanwhile, the trial of a man accused of killing his wife in the 1980s is underway in Washington County with new DNA evidence in the case. In 1988, police found Debbie Atrop's body in the trunk of her car, and investigators determined that someone strangled her to death. The case went cold until 2 years ago when Washington County detectives uncovered DNA evidence that prosecutors say proves that her husband, Robert, committed the crime. But Robert's attorneys argue that during testing, the lab produced misleading results.
We'll be asking you to find the defendant guilty of murder in the second degree. 3rd time's the charm. After excluding Bob twice and manipulating the settings got them the result they were looking for, they used that result to justify Bob's arrest.
This trial could last several weeks before the jury is asked to make a decision. A man who allegedly shined a laser into the eyes of workers at a local Tesla dealership faces criminal charges. According to court documents, this happened this past Saturday at the dealership there off South Macadam Avenue along Portland's south waterfront during a so-called Tesla takedown protest. The district attorney's office says employees reported having vision problems afterwards. Yesterday, Davis Nafshon pleaded not guilty to charges that include unlawful use of a weapon. Time to take a look at some of this afternoon's national headlines. We start with this. Both Republicans and Democrats claiming victory in special elections that took place in 2 states yesterday. First, in Wisconsin, Democratic-backed Susan Crawford won the state's Supreme Court seat over former Republican AG Brad Schimmel. In Florida, 2 vacated congressional seats will be filled by Republicans Randy Fine and Jimmy Patronis. Although results show that Democrats did outperform in districts that President Trump won by at least 30 percentage points, just a few months ago in November. The Supreme Court, meanwhile, handed a win to the Food and Drug Administration today over its refusal to approve flavored e-cigarettes. The court threw out an appeals court ruling that found the agency unlawfully rejected applications from 2 manufacturers of flavored liquids used in e-cigarettes. Justice Samuel Alito pointed to the possible dangers of the flavored products, appealing to middle and high school students. A judge has permanently dismissed the criminal corruption case against New York City Mayor Eric Adams. The dismissal comes nearly 2 months after the Trump administration requested that the charges be dropped, arguing that continuing them interfered with the mayor's ability to properly govern. Adams was indicted last year and accused of accepting illegal campaign contributions and free luxury travel dating as far back as 2016. And that's a look at some of this afternoon's national headlines.